So it's 2 minutes past 1, so will be a good time to start. So welcome everyone. My name is Alicia and I am the National Relationship Manager here at Concentric. We would like to welcome you all to our PBS event where we will cover everything PBS and what Concentric offer in regards to positive behaviour support. I will now hand over to Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to spend this next hour with us. My name is Stephanie. I'm the National Discipline Lead here for Positive Behaviour Support. I have been in the PBS behaviour space for the last 15 years, working not only in Australia, but internationally as well. I have found my little niche working with forensic participants and participants with a dual diagnosis, and like to bring that to the work that I do with my clinicians. I'm going to hand over to our lovely clinical consultants to introduce themselves, and then we'll start with Emily.
Thank you very much, Steph. My name's Emily. I've been working in the PBS sector now for 4, going to 5 years. However, I've worked in the NDA space for over 10 years. I like to specialise in trauma-informed approach, and I've worked across the lifespan, my youngest client being 4 and my oldest client being 87. I specialise in working with adults, and I also particularly specialise working within the Department of Communities for transitions into foster care with children placement. I'll hand over to Rosh to introduce himself.
Thank you, Emily. My name is Rosh. I'm a PBS practitioner based in Carrum Downs in Melbourne, Victoria. I have 10 years experience within the disability sector and around 3 years experience as a PBS behaviour support practitioner. I work with participants of all ages and diagnosis, with a particular focus in supporting male teenagers who may display physical or verbal aggression, as well as sexualised behaviours. My approach is person-centred, practical, and dedicating in improving the lives of others. So I'd like to take you into what is positive behaviour support. So positive behaviour support, sometimes known as PBS, is a person-centred, evidence-based approach focused on enhancing individuals' quality of life while reducing behaviours of concern. Rooted in the principles of the NDIS, PBS recognises that all behaviour has a purpose and is often a form of communication, whether to express a need, avoid a situation, or seek attention. Rather than relying on punishment or short-term fixes, PBS aims to understand the underlying reasons for the behaviour and uses proactive strategies to support long-lasting change. This includes teaching new skills, improving communication, and making meaningful adjustments to the environment, routines, and expectations to help the person feel safe, supported, and understood. PBS is done in isolation. It's a collaborative process that involves the individual, their family, support workers, and professionals working together to create practical, consistent, and person-focused strategies. At its core, PBS prioritises prevention over reaction and dignity over control, ultimately promoting independence, inclusion, and a higher quality of life for the person being supported. I'm now going to explore the key differences between PBS, applied behavioural analysis, sometimes known as ABA, and psychology, to better understand the unique approaches, how PBS specifically supports behaviour and quality of life. Positive behaviour supports takes a holistic and collaborative approach to addressing behaviours of concern by focusing on the reasons behind the behaviour rather than just the behaviour itself. Unlike applied behavioural analysis, known as ABA, which often relies on reinforcement techniques to modify behaviour, PBS emphasises working closely with the individual, their family, and support team to develop strategies that teach new skills, enhance communication, and adapt to environments, While psychology contributes towards mental health and emotional well-being, PBS specifically targets behavioural changes with practical, person-centred solutions. Grounded in respect, dignity, and inclusion, PBS aligns with the NDIS framework to help individuals lead more fulfilling and independent lives. I'd now like to hand over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Rosh. So now that we've got, I guess, a little bit more of a detailed understanding of PBS and how it may differ from other similar allied health professions, we want to touch on who actually can benefit from PBS, because maybe you have participants who don't already have access to improve relationship funding in their NDIS package. Anybody that is wanting to increase their engagement in social activities is going to definitely benefit from positive behavior support. We can help to put in the structures and the strategies to support them being able to engage in those activities that they love and have interest in. If your participant is looking to improve emotional regulation skills, definitely something that we can help with. We can help to identify what may trigger that escalation cycle, as well as being able to effectively communicate some of the challenges that they're experiencing, some of the emotions that they may be experiencing, or how to identify those emotions within their body. That being said, that whilst we do help to facilitate effective communication, we are not speechies. So we do that in being able to communicate with people within their environment, or how stakeholders interact and communicate with the participant themselves. If somebody is looking to boost their confidence and their resilience, PBS is definitely going to help benefit and improve that quality of life for them. We can help to support increasing quality of life and engagement with their interests and activities, whether that is within a small, more intimate support network such as family and friends, or if they want to branch out and engage more within the community and hobbies and interests that they love or have interest in. And we can also help to positively improve social relationships. Now, it was touched on a little bit earlier, but I think it is very important to understand that behavior is communication, and oftentimes we do see that behavior get labeled as challenging, and we want to work to reshift mindset in the positive behavior space and know that behavior is not necessarily somebody being difficult or challenging or manipulative, but it's simply their way of being able to express unmet needs or challenges, or even a different way of processing the world around them. And if we're able to reshift our mindset to understanding that the behaviors we're seeing are communication, we can approach our work with participants in a more empathetic and understanding light, knowing that they just may not have learned the skills to be able to communicate their needs, and that may need to be explored further through PBS support. We had mentioned as well that there is a difference between PBS and psychology, and just in conversations that we've had with other colleagues in industry, oftentimes there is confusion around, should we refer to PBS or should we refer to psychology? They are two closely connected disciplines, but we don't offer the same supports and we're not interchangeable. So we want to reshift that mindset around assuming that PBS is psychology or psychology is PBS. It's really important to understand the participants' specific needs, because by understanding what their specific needs are, we can then help to support, do they need psychology, do they need PBS, or would they benefit from having both in their plan to help reach those goals faster. And one of the things that we have here at Concentric is we have the capacity to help you support your participants in knowing, is PBS going to be effective for them? Another question that we tend to run into is, what do I do if my participant doesn't have funding? And there has been some changes in this space. So we wanted to address the unique pathway that we have here at Concentric that has adapted to these recent changes that the NDIS has put out. We are able to actually help support with this. So if somebody has improved daily living funding, we are able to help facilitate in writing a letter of support for that individual, not providing any type of behavioral assessment or behavioral related services in that, to then advocate for access to improved relationship funding. We also have another unique pathway that we've creatively labeled the IDL to IR pathway. And this is where we can help either a support coordinator or an LAC advocate for a small amount of funding to be allocated for a behavior support practitioner to conduct a behavioral assessment report. This is more in depth. This does have some aspects of behavioral assessment in the observations and the initial information conducting sessions that we are doing, and does need to be approved by the NDIS before we utilize it, because we would need to, it is allocated under that improved daily living. What we have found when practitioners are writing a behavior assessment report is it is typically more accurate, which means that we are then granted a more accurate funding representation to be able to effectively support that individual through that initial year of the PBS lifespan, which allows us to be more dedicated in the supports that we're providing. The letters of support are fantastic, and I think that that is a great entryway for people to be able to get behavior support funding. However, just from feedback and small little bits of research that we've done, we find that whenever we're writing that letter of support, we often have to go then for a change of circumstance midway through the plan, because the funding that has been allocated is not efficient for being able to support that individual. That BAR assessment, that behavior assessment report, takes away that guesswork and gets access to that support that is needed for the individual, which is going to yield more positive results, give more dedicated support to that participant. And it's the new, or not the new, but one of the more NDIS noted benefits is that long-term we're using the funding more effectively, and it means that they necessarily, the funding that we're utilizing is dedicated to that support rather than report writing. So it benefits NDIS and the participant themselves. To tackle what Concentric PBS approach looks like and some of the unique offerings we have, I'm going to hand over to Emily to dive into that in more depth.
Thank you very much for that, Steph. So Concentric's approach. First, our approach offers an MDT, person-centered, multidisciplinary approach. What does this look like? So this often looks like being able to collaboratively work with other disciplines, for example, speech, occupational therapy, dietetics, in applying consistent approaches with strategies across the board for our client. Now, an example of this can be working with a client, a young PEDS client, on emotional regulation strategies from a PBS point of view. Being able to work with that multidisciplinary approach, we can work collaboratively with the speech and the OT that may be involved in the client's care to be able to consistently, routinely implement the strategies we're advocating for with the family and the external stakeholders. That way we're applying a consistent approach across the board, which then endeavours to give our client the best possible chance in being able to adapt and use these life skills in their lives. This will also allow the clinicians to all be across the board for the goals, working towards the NDIS for our unique individual. PBS within Concentric also works across the lifespan. So many of our clinicians work from young peds clients right through to palliative care. This can look like many different approaches. This may involve PBS clinicians going into daycares, primary schools and high schools. It can look like introduction to schooling, reintroduction to schooling for children or teenagers that may be avoidant to schooling, and it can also look like transition out of schooling into the workforce or into adult life care. From schooling, we can also look at supporting work placement. We can support adults transitioning possibly from hospitals into CIL accommodation or IL accommodation, or transition from accommodation to hospital stays and back home again. As we know, this can be a difficult life transition for some participants and often see behaviours occurring during this time. With our approach, we support the stakeholders and the many people involved, from support workers to guardians to family members to hospital staff in this process. We can also look towards the later end of the life scale and support, again, families, guardians, support workers in the palliative care or nursing home approaches when we're applying Concentric's approach within our team. PBS clinicians can also offer transition plans when it comes to things like safety plans for transition to home work and, of course, behaviour support plans. PBS during this stage within Concentric often offers regular and ongoing support to our clients that may be transitioning through these stages. Multiple changes in life can occur. As mentioned before, clients can often go from being from hospital to home to a CIL environment or to a palliative care. In a space of 12 months to 2 years, some clients can transition to 4 different living arrangements and 4 different implementing providers. A PBS can follow along with that multidisciplinary approach with all the stakeholders involved in order to support that person to achieve the best quality life care as they progress through that transition. It also allows us to reach out to external stakeholders that may be involved in that person's life during those particular transitions. So this can also look like teachers, work colleagues for particular work locations. It can also involve sporting coaches, grandparents, and the wider community staff at that. Also unique to Concentric, we offer a clinical consultancy component. These sessions are designed to help our clinicians within Concentric gain new skills and insight while addressing specific client challenges. This is often perfect for new clients coming on board, which allows us to set up strong care strategies from the get-go. This often looks like clinicians consulting with their consultants in establishing a good solid therapy plan that is person-centred and aimed at achieving the goals uniquely to the individual and towards their NDIS goals. Consultants in this period also help with complex cases that may involve dual diagnosis and receive an input on intricate situations and unique situations that may be involved towards our client. And it also allows us to support our clinicians that are feeling like the progress may be stuck with their client and add a fresh perspective to unlock better results for our clients. Clinical consultancy also can offer a collaborative multidisciplinary approach across our team. This looks like when a client requires more of an intensive approach. This service allows clinicians from any discipline to partner with the clinical consultants to deliver the best outcomes. This can be ideal for clients that have comprehensive assessments, interventions, or reports, as well as cases where multidisciplinary expertise is needed. So this can often be seen when clients, say, for example, have speech and occupational therapy involved. However, the therapists are noticing behaviours within their sessions and are finding it difficult to be able to work towards the skill set or the goals they're working towards. They are able to contact the clinical consultants within the PBS field, and we can work alongside these clinicians to be able to put in proactive and reactive strategies to be able to allow our clinicians to offer the best quality therapy to our clients in that therapy session. It also allows our clients to have that holistic perspective, and insisting the client works towards the big picture goals, sometimes when they don't have access to other disciplines in this aspect. Concentric offers also unique workshops and groups in a clinical and a virtual workshop setting. These workshops can be tailored to participants and or stakeholders that are common themes that we've identified across our participants in our clinic. So these might be parenting workshops where parents want to understand functions of behaviour or get a better understanding on how to proactively support their child with difficulties such as transitioning or difficulties within unique or specific presentations. We also offer personalised training and professional development. Now, these personalised trainings can be offered to support coordinators, support workers, educators, and external stakeholders that may support individuals from the NDIS who need support but may not have IR funding. This allows stakeholders to have the confidence to support diverse populations and make reasonable adjustments to their supports and provide a greater quality of life and understanding of the individuals. This may look like support workers on a grand scale and allowing the staff to understand how behaviour is used as a communication tool, as well as things like teachers being able to understand particular strategies regarding specific presentations in behaviours. This allows a greater reach for PBS to create that ripple effect that anyone that is involved in working with a client to be able to best support them to have the best quality of life that is able to be done with the understanding and the knowledge of those that can support them. I'm going to throw back to Alicia for any questions that may come up with what we've shared today.
Thank you, Emily. Yep, our first question is, how does Concentric go about allocating a specific practitioner to a participant? Who would like to?
I'm happy to take this one on board. So we have a couple of things that we factor into deciding how a practitioner gets allocated to a participant. We have practitioners with varying interests and expertise, and that gets factored into the decision as well as their availability. We have our triage system that helps to make sure that participants are being allocated to practitioners with a skill set that is equally matched. And at the end of the day, we are also looking at, who has availability, who's able to attend on those days, regardless of the practitioner that is assigned to our clinicians. All of our practitioners receive above industry standard supervision with our clinical mentors and have access to ongoing consultation at a national level. So regardless of which practitioner you are allocated, they have the expertise and the skill set to be able to support that.
And then our next question is, and I used to get confused with this a lot, is what is the difference between PBS and psychology? Yeah,
I can take this one if you like. So mentioning before on the slide the difference. So psychology, it mainly focus upon mental health, and that can be through counselling sessions and one-on-one sessions, especially within the clinic as well. Within PBS, we like to focus on supports in different environments from a holistic approach, and this would be gaining understanding of the person and the behaviour. We would also work with the family and the support worker as opposed to a one-to-one support. So it's very collaborative in how we provide our support.
And then our next question is, how does Concentric provide support for participants from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds?
I don't mind answering this one again. So we do have quite a diverse workforce. We are quite a large organisation, and so we have practitioners with various languages spoke. However, I myself have sat in sessions where we have had interpreters from the NDIS, and they've helped in terms of a language barrier. But we are very respectful of cultures, and coming into people's homes is very intrusive at times. So we want to be very respectful in terms of how someone lives their home. So it's very non-judgmental. We are here to support and not to judge.
I think also just adding to what Rosh has said is we take into cultural preferences and experiences and embed that into the behavior support plan that we're providing to the stakeholders and individuals that are supporting that participant. I think that when we are supporting participants from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, it is important that that is in the forefront of our plan, and knowing that maybe the way that we would interpret a situation, or maybe the way that Western society may interpret a situation, is not what is going to be conducive to that individual and their preferences. And so we really let that shine and really respect that person and honor that person for who they are.
Well, they're the only questions that we have at this current time. So in regards to reaching out to contact us, if you have more questions, if you have participants you would like to refer, we have our referrals at concentric.com.au inbox, or you can reach out to me personally at aliciaking@concentric.com.au. We'll be emailing the recording from this presentation as well as the slides out to everyone. And so that has the link to our online web form, inquiry form. And we currently have immediate capacity at many of our locations for positive behaviour support. So we have in Victoria, Southeast Metro from our Karen Downs Clinic has immediate capacity. In Sydney, our Burwood and Revesby catchment areas have immediate capacity for positive behaviour support. And in Perth, from our Westminster and Midland clinics have immediate capacity, and Maddington is roughly about a 3-week wait for positive behaviour support at the moment. I would like to thank everyone for attending. I would like to also thank our amazing presenters and our positive behaviour support team at Concentric. And thank you very much.